Welcome back, Juventini, to the Juventinità Back to Black and White podcast. My name is Daniel Negro, as you all know, and we're live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Today, we're going to be going over the post match for Juve-Ferencvaros, and yes, I know that game's been passed for a while, and we've also played another game. So why are we doing this? Well, we have to have some continuity. I love to have obviously new guests, past guests, but I think this was kind of key to Juve's consistency issue. We've always seen Juve, either if it's after the international break or before, or a couple games after, we see this lull. Well, fortunately enough, we got a 2-0 win against Cagliari. Now, the game wasn't perfect, as it always isn't, and I think this was the perfect test to see if we could rally a couple wins. And I've been saying this for a while now. Juve's got to show up in bunches, not just one game look good and then look bad for the next two games, which again you guys will know because we've played Benevento already. And then again, you've known my issues. So the computer issues that I've had, this should have come a lot earlier, I would say. So this is obviously going to be filmed after the Davide podcast, which is going to come next in line after this one. So just bear that in mind. But I think all these issues and all these talking points are all relevant. So whether we talk about it now or earlier, I think we've got something to say. Again, I want to see how my guest thinks about how we're playing so far this game, even in the next game. And kind of an OG. Obviously, we had some good connections on the WhatsApp group. Unfortunately, I'm not a part of. But it's really nice to see him again. The two-parter, the only two-part podcast we've had so far because we talked so much on the first one. But Farrukh, welcome. Obviously, I think a lot of you guys know him as at Forza Piemonte. But and obviously, if you are still in the WhatsApp group, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But Farrukh, thank you for coming on. The Juventino from San Fran. How's it going?
Great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I know it's really nice to see you again, man. I know lives are busy and this whole COVID stuff, but it's really great to have you back on again. And yeah, let's get right into it. We don't have to do any fan moments or anything like that, so we can get straight right into the action.
Perfect.
We look at the schedule. Obviously, like I said, we've played Benevento on the road, but I think December is a huge month. Obviously, tomorrow going to be December 1st. We got Dinamo Kiev, then we have the Derby della Mole, which is huge, 2 games back to back. Then we go to Barcelona and play for the group, essentially, if all goes well this week. And then against Genoa, Atalanta at home, that's a big game. Away to Parma, and obviously home to Fiorentina to wrap up the year. I think all these games are crucial, whether it's a big team or small team. Hopefully we can get a majority of these points because Milan looks like they're on a run. We're already 6 points back as of today, which isn't, defining or, finishing. Essentially, that's 2 games we still have to play against Milan. So that'll recoup, any lost points. We get past that. Okay, now we have a little bit to talk about. The leash gets a little bit tighter around, Pirlo's neck, and we really could see. But I think a really cool thing, kind of stat figure, Morata's equaled the number of goals scored in Champions League, 5, just like in his first season at Juve when we reached the final in Berlin. So hopefully those are good omens, reported by Tutto Sport, but we have a long way to go. But again, 5 goals in 4 games in the UCL. Hopefully, it looks like he's going to be playing this week as well. But phenomenal for a guy that was really talked about negatively, which was weird. And if I remember correctly, we didn't have a choice. I really wanted to bring Morata back. It was a large sum of money that Madrid was asking, but I believe they had the first right of refusal. So we didn't even have a choice to, they could bring him back if they wanted to, and they did. And then they won another Champions League. So it's nice to see him back. It's nice to see him performing. What were your thoughts, Farrukh, on bringing Morata to the squad?
Yeah, I think my first thoughts were that Morata Juve was kind of his home.
Yeah.
Because that was the one place that he really settled in. and not only just in terms of his performances, but it felt like he psychologically settled in
Yeah.
at the club, and that's something that's hard to do both for the club and for the player. So I had a good feeling about it, even though there a lot of stuff had happened in the middle, and he had kind of fluttered around and not had that level of consistency. And then I'm happy to see that his instincts are still there.
Yeah.
And even though he's getting a lot of offsides, I think those things will eventually kind of um, he has opportunities to improve his game even further. So I'm pretty excited about it overall.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, offside, it's something you can fix. It's not like, but yeah, it's. I mean, I'm an advocate of Atletico Madrid, so I knew how he was kind of struggling. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great in any sense. So that's kind of something to think about when he before he did come here. For the second time is what I mean. But yeah, I know it's been great so far. Settling in, no problem. That's what I kind of liked. It, you know, when we get these good fits, unfortunately, that was the structure of the deal. But when you get a really good fit, that's something that you need to hold on to because, like you said, a good fit is worth a million in the bank. It's for obviously the collective, the players getting along. You even saw with Mandzukic. Unfortunately, maybe who knows? We could bring him back to as like a super sub or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but because I'm hearing this Dybala talk with Icardi, and I don't know. Do we need another number 9 with someone doing so well? That's on that level of wage. I don't know. It just doesn't seem who's someone who's kind of a disruptive personality. Does Juve really need that, especially when we've seen what Alvaro's done? I don't know. I think we're pretty good in that department. But
Hmm.
Dybala was subbed 100 times since he's joined Juve, more than only Del Piero and Camoranesi. So he's in good company.
Hmm. Yeah.
But let's talk about Holland. I don't know if you heard it. This is a little bit again. Some of these news takes are a little bit older, but I wanted your thoughts. Obviously, you said at the beginning of 2018, Juve wanted me, but I was too young, 17, and it was better for me to start gradually and play with continuity at obviously Salzburg. So this was even before the whole summer saga took place. Um, but what are your thoughts? Have you been obviously the guy's been doing fantastic for my fantasy team in Champions League. But and scoring like crazy. But was it just the wrong time to pick him up at Juve? What do you think?
Um,
Because I know fans go on like it's literally like conversations will just every time we stop scoring, it's brought up or he does score. So
yeah, I think um, I don't know if we had what we needed to go for him. It seems like we did. We could have kind of
yeah,
balanced some trade-offs to make it happen if we really wanted to. So I don't know if he was seen as too risky of a prospect,
it's tough. It's
or if we
tough.
wanted to go for like a surefire thing, somebody who was already mature enough. But in hindsight, it seems like we missed out on an opportunity
For
with him.
sure.
But having said that, Juve rarely goes for younger players, even at a
That
high
is true.
level. I mean, Delict was an exception to that, and we're kind of more inclined towards more mature players and older players. Um, I hope he comes to Juve one day.
Yeah, that would be
I
awesome.
think the price tag will unfortunately be astronomical.
Sometimes you pay for what you get, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you have to. And like I've said this multiple times, hindsight's always 2020. For sure we're gonna be kicking ourselves, but finances are finances, and sometimes that takes and the mistakes you've made carry forward, and if that puts you in a position where you can't pick up a start. The flip side, devil's advocate to that, I mean, it could have been a flop. Who
I mean,
knows, right? He could
that
have got
is very
injured.
that is a very fair point because I can definitely picture him coming here and not getting the opportunity to play
Well,
very regularly and kind of
exactly.
sitting on the bench a lot and playing with the Primavera.
No,
Um,
we've seen that before, so it's like we kind of know. And even Raiola made comments where he's like, "Well, he's not getting a starting role, right? They're not offering him a starting role, and uh, it is what it is, and that's what we move on." But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, he's scoring like crazy. It's ridiculous. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, I think somebody posted this stat. I have not verified it, so don't quote me. But I think he has scored a goal every 76 minutes or something during his career, something ridiculous like that.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. I know there's different buyout clauses and we're not quite in January or even the summer yet, but I mean, who knows? There's lots of rumors about our own players, right? So
Right,
we'll have to see who goes and what money what comes in and what goes out. And COVID's still gonna affect us for a really long time, and
right.
we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. On that day, which was I believe the 25th, Del Piero scored the winning goal for Juve against River Plate. One of the only clubs to have all of the quote unquote major cups with UEFA. So the Intercontinentale was unbelievable jersey with the writing down the side, and that's your Super Cup that didn't exist for all you young kids out there that don't realize what that was. Well, that's your best North America, your best European, and your best South American teams going head to head for a very interesting looking trophy, to say the least.
Right.
Um, Obviously, getting to the next stage for Juve, we secure 33 million euros, which is always good. Um, and more will come, obviously, from the historical ranking, which will be determined depending on how far where our coefficient puts us. And then, obviously, the market pool, which will obviously, again, depend on who advances and who doesn't advance to the next round of the Champions League. So we'll see what that has to do. We'll see with that. And Morata's last minute goal in this
Mm-hmm.
game was worth 1.8 million euros, which was the difference between obviously a draw at 0.9 million. Every draw you get 0.9, and every win you get 2.7 in the Champions League group stage. So obviously, if you go the more, if you can go undefeated, you're just bringing more money to the club. Talking about Maradona, I know it's been talking points around the world. We're just kind of seeing the new jersey that Napoli put out there, seeing the tributes. Um, Platini apparently was wanted by Napoli, and he quotes, "Who would have worn the number 10? Maradona, because Naples is his home, and I would have left it to him." So kind of interesting to see that he could have gone there. Obviously, he chose Juve, and I mean that's history, right? Uh, Unbelievable stories so far, just hearing all of the different things. Obviously, if you guys haven't checked out the Maradona documentary, please do. Even if you're not as big as fan or not, it was just very interesting to see the euphoria, the following, the excitement, just unbelievable. The passion, you don't get that nowadays.
Right.
You really don't. And what it really meant to be a calcio fan, for whatever team you cheer for. So that was really great to see. Again, speaking of Mandzukic again, um, his agent came out and said a couple things. Obviously, Mario prefers not to speak about how he left Juve. Juventus fans are perhaps the ones who love him the most. They still send many messages to him. Now he's waiting for a team that believes in him, just like Milan believed in Ibra. So maybe hinting at some things, but again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. That would just be the irony of all ironies. With coming back, not getting along. But we'll see what happens. No Juve player made more key passes than Juan Cuadrado, and we'll get your opinion on him since the start of the season. He's also Juve's top assist provider with 5 assists this season, 4 in Champions League, 1 in Serie A. And whoever posted that, I can't remember. I think that was on around Turin, but underrated medium star. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. What do you think of Cuadrado so far?
I think he has performed above his baseline. Um, to me, he's still kind of like, I love him as a guy, but I think he has his deficiencies as a player, and he can lack consistency. I'm not sure if he's mentally strong enough. And an example of that is that when he has a clear shot, he normally scuffs it. His
Yeah,
mental game isn't quite there. Um,
and the
and
amount of crosses,
right,
he's got to take, and usually
right,
he'll get one, right? Usually he'll
yeah,
get that one that'll make him look good.
right. But at the same time, I think he has stepped up when he needed to. So um, until we find somebody better, I guess we stick with him and
Yeah,
let it play out. But he still makes me nervous defensively sometimes, and
yeah.
also in attack. I'm never sure if he's going to deliver or if he's going to give me a little tiny heart attack when he's trying to play a ball, or if he's going to try to take on defenders rather than playing the ball into the box or take the right shot.
Yeah, I think we're kind of teetering now between, respecting the player and respecting what he did, to people openly defending him even though he is making those mistakes, and not realizing, hey, it's not about Cuadrado the player. We respect that he went into a right back position, but we know that we need so much more in that position. So I think we're kind of going back and forth, and we're almost getting too pissed. We're taking it personally sometimes against him, because you see that it's like, like another mistake. It's like you keep seeing it, and you're like, we could have fixed that. We could have got a player, but we didn't, and like we're stuck in the situation. So you can't fault the guy as always, because if he comes in and puts in a decent effort, but you're always cringing. You're always like wincing, because you're like, we know what we could have. We know we need an improvement. We know where his strengths are, and he always gets that seem to get that one cross that's perfect, that'll make him look better, take away kind of what has gone wrong in the game on the defensive end. But even you look in the Benevento game, even in this game, some crosses he can make, and he makes the runs, and I appreciate that. But again, it's just like, we need a little bit more. We need a little bit more out of him
Yeah, I
defensively.
mean, he is. If you look at historically what Juventus material means,
Yeah,
like over the last 30 years, let's say, um, he is definitely a notch at least below Juventus material,
yeah,
and probably a couple of notches below world class material,
true.
or more. And that is kind of a fact, in my opinion. He's not an elite right back or whatever position you put him in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has passion for jersey, and he
Oh yeah.
has played in a new position, and he has uh, kind of stepped into a role when he needed to, and try to kind of restrain himself and not play outside of his level. So he's kind of restrained himself, and I respect him for doing that. And I think a lot of fans appreciate that he did all that. Um, so yeah, again, I think, um, can he deliver on the big stage? That remains to be seen. Um, but in the meanwhile, I think if he kind of, you know, keeps his head down
Yeah.
and like tries to be, you know, not necessarily flashy, but kind of a no nonsense player and
Right.
do the basics right, that would be something that we need a lot at this moment.
Yeah, I agree. Agree 100%. But a couple more, one transfer and a couple of missed stats for me. But I guess I jumped the gun there a little bit. Man, you obviously aren't focusing on Ronaldo at the moment. I don't know if anyone's hearing Fabrizio Romano on his own podcast. There we go. And people around Juventus have always said he'll stay next season. So let's see what happens. Still to go. Only Haaland 6 has scored more goals than Morata 5 so far in the Champions League this season. Only one goal in the competition to become Juve's 5th all-time top goal scorer in the history. So That's pretty crazy. But for rankings, obviously he had the highest 7.5. Best player according to Gazzetta dello Sport, and Dybala was the worst with 5. Shocking. But we'll get into the formations right away, some match stats, and then the minute by minute recap. But before that, I hope you guys are enjoying Cafe alla Juventinità. I know some people were like, "That's not the proper way to say," but it rolls. It rolls off the tongue, and that's all I wanted. I like the way it sounds. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. The first kind of official episode today, the new logo. So please follow, guys. Please subscribe. Drop a comment. Drop a question. All the platforms. But thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it. And you guys make this thing run. So let's keep her going. 4-4-2 was the Juve's, I guess, documented formation. We go back and forth, obviously, with 3 at the back in possession in the offensive end. But the usual attacking goal, Alexandro Delict, Danilo Quadrado, and Bernardeschi made the start in this game with Artur Bentancur McKennie and Ronaldo Dybala, which was, I think, for a Juve fan, very intriguing to see both of them, thinking that we can get that link up. Ferencvaros with the 5-4-1 formation. Again, they have 2 fullbacks, so you can essentially call it a 3. You guys understand. Depends how you want to document it. So, I don't think they had too many different players in the lineup. Obviously, they had Lovrencic, Blazic, Frimpong, Diwali, Heister is kind of your 5. Tokmak, Somalia, Seeger, and Zubkov as your 4. And then Uzuni up top, who's the goal scorer for them, obviously. And Debush in goal. From Juve's perspective, any surprises? Were you happy that we got to see both Ronaldo Dybala, obviously Bernardeschi coming back with a great effort in that game against Cagliari, and that's why he kind of gets to start again. Rabiot, I think, was more of a rest, and obviously McKennie and Ramsey. Ramsey obviously came on later, but maybe fitness was a little bit of an issue. So these guys get the start. I believe Bonucci wasn't fit, so that's why he didn't make it into the squad. I know there was kind of some questions about whether he would or not, and there was some thought that he might, but no, this is who we get. And what are your thoughts, Farrukh?
I think the big surprise was obviously Bernardeschi, and the bigger surprise was how well he played.
Yeah.
So those were the main takeaways for me. I was happy to see Dybala and Ronaldo playing together after a while. It was, I guess Quadrado had a pretty strong performance in that match, but overall, I thought that, I don't know how to say this name, but Ferencvaros or whatever it is,
Yeah.
they defended like pro level. They were so good, the tackles and sliding challenges, and they had so much heart. So I was actually impressed by the defending a lot, and I kept thinking, why can't we defend like that? If a no-name team can do that, and we have all this money and all these defenders, granted we have injuries and all that, but still, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, I hope that our team takes a lesson from this, that, hey, look at these guys, they're kind of semi-pros. Or
compact, yeah.
Yeah,
compact, strong on the ball, sitting behind when they need to, countering when they need to. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Perfect point there. And kind of a side note that I want to kind of bring before we get into, the match, because really what I've written down, I think, speaks to exactly what you have to say. And even some of the stats, I think this whole game was kind of a toss-up in terms of how we actually played, and how Pirlo, not a toss-up, but kind of a pretty predictable, unfortunate mess of how we played. But the side note is, those kits were beautiful. Like, I'm sorry, Nike had us on there. Like, the pinstripe kits, black and green. I mean, I know some people are confusing Sassuolo, but Unbelievable job, Nike. I know we're getting this kind of 90s vibe thinking happening for next year, but we'll have to wait and see what those look like. But yeah, Nike checks over stripes, as Drake famously said. But yeah, like unbelievable kits.
Yeah.
Another thing, we look at the match stats, and it's a blaring concern for us. 20 crosses in this match. And that was the theme. I mean, we had 66% possession for us, 34 for Ferencvaros, 19 shots on goal for us, 19 shots total, 7 on goal, 9 for Ferencvaros, and 2 for Ferencvaros on goal. But yeah, 20-5 in crosses, and that was the story. It was almost like we took a chapter out of Allegri's book, but we're defensively vulnerable the whole game. And for passing, I think we had the volume that we needed with 719. The amount of damage they were able to do with only passing 368 times was unbelievable, and only having a 75.5% pass success rate, whereas we had 87.8, just speaks to how this team needs to play in a certain way to get the chances we do. It seemed like we crossed the ball and we would put it down the wing, and then we get kind of, some of the chances we had, and we'll talk about how Cristiano scored, was cutting in. So again, it was all seemed like we took a pay. And again, defensively, when you have those fullbacks, what I was going to mention when we're talking about the lineup, but our fullbacks are playing way too high. And they're not helping out, and they're not recognizing the occasion when they have to come back. And the midfielders aren't, in sync with them either. So if one goes up, you kind of have to get someone to, either take his place or kind of not go too far back, but realize that, hey, if something gets out of hand, I'm going to have to step in for either Cuadrado or Alexandro. And that just wasn't the case. They were moving freely, even in the Benevento game that I'm going to get into next with some guys you're going to know, some shitsters, but it's too obvious. And to me as a coach, if that happens in the first 45 minutes, that's fine, but we didn't correct anything in the second half. So let's kind of go through the game now, moment by moment. And we started the game, I found way too aggressive. We were fouling like crazy. But it kind of showed how we were gonna, set up in possession. You had Alexandro, Matthias de Ligt, and Danilo kind of as your back three there, sitting, holding the fort when you had, Bernardeschi, Cuadrado, and McKennie kind of moving. Cuadrado was really high up again, as always. And but for the first 5 minutes, no real chances. Crossing in again, I said, what the fuck are we doing? It's reminded me of the start of the Cagliari game. And I'm like, okay, so when is the Kulusevski moment going to happen where he starts to cut in and we start the combination play, the combination passing, the 1-2s? But we didn't really see that. 8th minute, Ferenc turns it around on us. They test the middle of the park and, they get some pressure on us. 10 minutes in, we got a cup ball too long, kind of feeling it out. 14th minute, Ronaldo crosses in. Dybala gets on it, but again, at the keeper, was a nice chance though. So again, he's trying, he's working. But 16th minute, finally starting to play through the middle, getting chances, and I don't know why we kind of switch off to this after a while. It's like we in this game where we had a couple of chances, but we're trying to get, and then we would revert back to, okay, let's just go into cross. 18th, and this is kind of where everything starts. Flick, obviously, and this is why I was kind of shit talking de Ligt a little bit, because we get into the whole Dybala, tug on the shoulder thing, talking to the ref situation against Benevento. De Ligt decides to pinch and go for this header, which he loses. So again, that's not the complete fault. We look at the whole situation with Dybala and the Lazio goal. at the end there. And these situations is just a colossal mistake after mistake of certain players. So flick of the ball, obviously hits Danilo, and you think he's going to take care of it, but he falls over, and the Ferencvaros player completely takes advantage. Okay, well, now we have Alexander who sprints in there, and you think, okay, maybe he's got it. We've obviously have another player, Uzuni, coming in, who is as well covered by, I believe it was Danilo again, and Ferencvaros player crosses it in, deflects off Alexandro, and basically to a guy wide open who wasn't covered nearly as tough as he should have been marked, and kicks the ball into the net. So there's the 1-0 to Ferencvaros, and now we're, or I believe it was Cuadrado actually with the poor coverage, and we're down 1-0. And what were your kind of thoughts, leading up to that moment, and then seeing that take place on the pitch?
Yeah, I always have a bad feeling when we're creating chances and we're not being clinical. And I keep thinking it's going to come back to bite us. And a lot of times it happens.
Yep.
So that's the first part. Second part is it was just, a complete mess.
Yeah.
It was
Playing
a disaster class in defending. That's like an example of how not to defend,
Well, yeah.
And
what can go wrong will go wrong, as they say.
Right. So it was complete chaos and complete and utter chaos, and we let ourselves down. I mean, this is like basic stuff that you learn how to do in training, and like you said, 3 or 4 times we should have been able to pick that up and do something about it, at least.
Well, then, so what happens is, and then in the 20th, so just right after that, we go back to this horrid crossing again. And then in the 24th, for some reason, and I've noticed this, so we got the fullbacks up really high, or the wingers, whatever you want to call them. But then we also have the midfielders who slide in. So you're opposite of, in this game, I believe it would have been Artur being your holding kind of player. So Bentancur and Bernardeschi and McKennie would kind of push up, and you'd come up to this like flat line up top, and it's just, and Dybala would then now have to kind of swing back and come low and try and pick up the ball eventually towards, before he got taken off. But yeah, I don't know. It was something similar that we had witnessed in the Roma game, where we just had this line of kind of midfielders in it. And it's like, okay, who's going to play the middleman? Who's going to distribute? You're not going to get the ball from Artur to the top when there's nothing in between, no one to play between the lines.
Right.
So I thought we were, unfortunately, and it was nice to see Alexandro back again. I forgot to mention that, playing a full 90 minutes, even though, again, mistakes were made and it is what it is. But 27 minutes, Ferencvaros sitting back. Still too many crosses from wide. 30 minutes, another break. Splits us so easily. And I think I said this perfectly. If Ferencvaros doesn't mess up, we would have had a real problem. They missed, I think, 2, 3, 4 good chances where either the guy kind of bobbled the ball or he lost it. A couple over passes that were a little bit too long. They could have easily, the way they were moving the ball, they could have done so much damage. So we were kind of lucky in a sense. I know we talk about, Ronaldo scoring and we scoring at the last minute, Morata. I mean, there's a lot of chances. You look in all these games, there's chances where teams could come back. You look at the Cagliari game where the goal was offside, but hey, they opened that game up at 2-1. What does that become? They were pushing. It's just constant similar talking points. And that's why I think a lot of people are getting on Pirlo now, even after this latest game. But again, we got to fix it. I know he doesn't have the experience, but he's got to. If we can all see it, the maestro that is Pirlo should be able to see it and be able to fix it.
Right.
I think it's pretty common sense, right? So,
well, I think, that's like a common theme running from last year,
Yeah.
where I've had the feeling that like we have a very nice racing bicycle
Yeah.
that has very nice parts, but we cannot find any grease to make it work. It's rusty,
Well said.
it's
Well said.
rusting, it's just kind of out of sorts. Like the parts are all there or mostly there, but we're playing way below our potential, and it's hard to pinpoint what exactly, if we don't have the right managers, if we don't have the right support structure in terms of giving the managers the right players that they need, a bit of both. um, you know, in an ideal world, we should be going after people like Eric Ten Hag of Ajax, or people like what's the guy's name?
Don't say Guardiola. Please don't say Guardiola.
No. The Red Bull guy that Milan were after.
Oh my gosh. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but that would mean that Paratici would be out, right? Or maybe Nedved would be out too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
That'd be
weird.
painful.
No,
That'd be
go
painful.
ahead. Continue, man. Continue.
So I think we need to kind of start also looking at options like outside our traditional way of doing things.
Agreed.
If we're really trying to shake things up in terms of our marketing, our branding, then why not our sporting direction as well?
True.
And take some risks there. But having said that, Perla is a risk, and I hope it pans out. It's still early in the season, and there's going to be growing pains. I think things are going to be. I have a feeling. I guess I don't know if I can substantiate it, but I have a feeling that after the New Year, things are actually going to turn around a little bit, and we're going to start getting things to gear. And maybe hopefully we don't peak in March. Hopefully we peak a little bit later than March, but start building up toward that after the New Year.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, but I think until New Year, until the end of the year, our task is to kind of make sure we don't fall too far behind, because I don't see it as kind of going from like we're all the way down here. I don't see it coming all the way up here all of a sudden. I see it kind of like a gradual turnaround.
Yeah, I think we can get to that point, and like I am kind of in a pessimistic mood, but I definitely still, like I was saying earlier, like it's definitely not nothing's over. There's still lots of room. We just got to put in the work. So at the end of the day, we have our own destiny in our hands. Let's get back into it. Obviously, Ronaldo telling players to push up. I don't know. I just find it really cheesy when he does this. Like, he gets angry for like no reason and then misses chance here. And Clint, he's not as I don't know. Just focus on your game. Like,
well, I
don't worry.
think the thing is like with Ronaldo, right? We can, and we have talked in the past about 30 million a year, whether or not it's worth it, and what we paid up front. But the point is that we shot ourselves in the foot in the sense that, show me the support that Ronaldo had at Real Madrid or something close to that. Right? And then it would be worth it. But if we just get Ronaldo and don't get any of that support around it,
it's not going to work.
And obviously you're going to have a hard time. He can still score like 20, 30 goals a season or whatever he's been doing.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we'll get into that right next.
Right. But you're going to be becoming dependent on Ronaldo for one, because your sports structure is not there. And secondly, you're not going to get the best out of Ronaldo. So, it's kind of a tough situation where we're not extracting the most out of Ronaldo. And
well, I think we are. I just think it's not. I think we're not extracting the most out of the team.
Right.
Personally, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Right.
we're getting as much as we can out of Ronaldo because of just the sheer talent. And maybe you would get a little bit more, right? Because, as you have I just think that's what you get by bringing in Ronaldo. Like, you're going to have this guy who needs to be serviced. You're going to have a guy that's, and people are saying everybody needs servicing. I don't necessarily agree with that. You need servicing, but when you have a more of a back and forth, or a system where it's kind of cohesive, all the parts are functioning as one, so everybody's getting service, the right service. They know where to go. They know where to make their runs. Midfielders. I think this is too much, obviously, like you said, too reliant. But I also think it's when he's trying to signal push up, when we already have these fullbacks, already going, it's just leading to more. Just let us play the way we need to play. Let the coach worry about that. You don't need to be telling players push up, this, that. Because I know he was doing it the years before, and it's those are the times when we actually should have been pushing up, and we never did. Now we already are pushing up. So how much further does he want them to go? I mean,
well,
and maybe in those moments, right? But
I see that, but I also see that a lot of times when we have a situation where Ronaldo or Morata are in the box, and maybe one fullback is up there, our midfield is just like sitting back and waiting for the ball to fall back. And instead of, like if you look at, you said Guardiola, so I'm going to say Manchester City, or a bunch. You could have any number of teams really, but imagine a team pushing back and going in waves where they're kind of marauding the opposition defense. That's what attractive football is, and that's what attacking football is, and we're kind of far away from that.
Yeah, we're riffing on it. We're riffing on trying to do that, but what a fucking shot.
Yeah.
How does he score though? He cuts into the middle. Duh. I said this I don't know how many times, but we got to go through the middle. It was a brilliant effort, brilliant goal. I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory. We got the players that can have that combination play that, it seems like we're getting it a little bit better than we did last year. And guys are kind of making better runs, and, the flick-ons between Morata and Rabiot and Artur and Ramsey, even Dybala in some senses, are a lot better than last year. But I just find that for whatever reason, and I don't know if that's Pirlo telling or Tudor or whoever, but we're going down the wings way too often. And like I said, in this game, it showed you we crossed 20 times and we connected on one, which was thankfully the winning goal at the end. But even right after this one, after a goal or a big chance, we give up big opportunities, and it's Ferencvaros coming down the other way. Now some long shots in the 40th, 42nd. Alexander making some pretty good runs, which I was happy with, and kind of, given these to, some people who've been hating, I think he can make those runs, and he showed it a couple times in this game where he can get up there. I think it's just what the coach is telling and, how it's being implemented. So I think that was good to see. 45th, basically defensive shambles, no connections, not clinical. What does it say? ID football. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I can't even read my own shit. But it's or low IQ football, basically. I don't know.
Well, I think part of it is that the thing that Sarri said kind of stuck with me, and people gave him a lot of crap for that. But he said that these players don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's some truth to that. I don't think he was making it up to kind of get pressure off himself. And I think Pirlo is probably trying to create an identity, but it's going slower than he expected.
Yeah.
And there's definitely seems to be a lot of mixed signals. Like he's saying something, players are interpreting it in a certain way. There's like a lack of cohesion.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be a clear direction. So I think there's that element. And then you see things going right every now and then too, but they're not for sustained periods of time.
Yeah.
Not even for one whole match,
Well, exactly. Like I said, even how good we looked in that Cagliari game, we pretty much just fell asleep in the second half and just said, "Oh, well, we're up 2 goals, it's done, so who cares?"
Right.
And then when we start this half, horrible connections again. 50th, still crossing the fucking ball I wrote down. We got a free kick, Ronaldo off the wall. We know how it is. 56th, and I wrote this specifically because there was a moment where um, Dybala kind of had an opportunity. I think it was a one-on-one with a defender, and the ball was kind of pushed out ahead of him. And I don't know, he doesn't seem to have that breakaway speed.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And it's just I don't know if it's still if he's still getting, with these stomach pain, this flu or whatever the virus that he had, kind of the
Well, my whole thing is, I mean, my take on it is that Dybala's deadly, like his weapon is not his speed, it's his trickery and dribbling.
true.
Um, that's where he kills it. And um, in order for him to be effective, he needs to be further up front. Somebody needs to tell him, "Hey, Dybala, we don't care if you're not getting the ball.
Yeah.
We don't care if you're not creating enough chances. Stop worrying about that. Just hang out there. Be like Morata. Just like, well, I mean, Morata is coming back too, but
Yeah.
like hang out there and just wait for the ball to come to you and then do something with it. That's where we need you the most. So I think we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot for whatever reason, when he's coming back, because
Yeah.
it,
And
it
so like again, I don't know. I want to get your take on this though. So do you think it's him personally thinking? Because I've kind of not a revelation, but I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe he's out there and he's kind of getting pushed to the side, and he's seeing some of the other midfielders. So is he thinking, he's obligated to come back, and maybe he's like, well, I don't see it happening, so he's trying to make chances. He's
yeah,
overthinking it. He's coming back saying, well, maybe they need me to come back to get the ball.
right.
I don't know. I just think,
Yeah, I think he gets frustrated.
and I think like sometimes he's coming back and he's saying, well, I have to come back or else I'm not going to get the ball, because maybe
Yeah,
the connection isn't great with some of the guys who've played together for longer, because he's obviously had this time off and not as played, as a starter. I
yeah.
don't
I mean, I
know.
think the problem partially is that our midfield, for the last couple of years at least, has been kind of missing in action, right? And right now it's getting better, but we're still not quite
Yeah.
there. Um, and that makes him want to come back because he's not getting the service.
Yeah.
Like Ronaldo's not getting the service, and Ronaldo's frustrated as well. But at the
Yeah.
same time, with Dybala, I think his frustration is getting the better of him. He gets frustrated, then he like subconsciously starts falling back. Um,
Yeah. I don't know. I think the way it's set up, not to, defend to the cows come home, but I think the setup is a little, I don't know. Is it maybe they're not getting clear instructions, because I don't see, especially because we've seen it for pretty much every game he's played, barring the one that he just came on to kind of caretake and we were sitting back against Lazio. I don't think anyone could take much out of that one. We were holding on to a 1-goal lead, essentially what that was. And you could even look at how Morata and even Ronaldo or Morata were kind of sitting back. We weren't really taking advantage of our chances. But I think it's a miscommunication, because I see these midfielders bombing up and making runs, and it's just like, okay, well, someone's got to do the dirty work and get the ball. So I don't know. Maybe it's Dybala thinks this is how he needs to play. Pirlo's saying it this way, and maybe it's not getting translated. I don't know, and it's just working. But I just think there's something's lost in translation, because our midfielders get really high, and Dybala seems to always. And you look at it, you freeze frame it, and I don't want to get banned, so I'm not going to put it on the screen now. But it's always the scene like it's either Bernardeschi's up there, Cuadrado's even higher than him, and he's back, and you'll have Artur, or you'll have Ramsey, and you'll have McKennie, and they're all higher than him. So it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. We got to
yeah,
figure
I mean,
that out.
I think I don't know too much about his personal life, but from what I've heard, seems like his personal life has also been having an impact on how well he's playing. Like, imagine you're going through a hard time personally, and then you have a job, and you're
Yeah.
going into work, and you're frustrated, and you're taking your frustration out in different ways,
Yeah.
or it's affecting
Well,
you.
and the contract talk doesn't help too, right? Like,
Contract talk is definitely,
that's the thing.
um, it's tough because I don't see it happening at 15 million. Like, I think, the value has kind of gone down this year.
I would
Last year,
agree.
they didn't sign the contract. Maybe 15 would be justifiable, but right now, with COVID especially, teams are kind of trying to cut
Yeah.
down on costs too.
See, but
Um,
I think that in terms of that, just quickly, I think there's workarounds for that. There's a potential lower base salary with incentives. There's lots of ways to spin it, right? It doesn't need to be a base of 15 plus,
yeah,
and Juve knows that. And, they're trying to play hardball with someone they've already tried to get rid of when then he comes off and pulls that season. And I think right then they should have been signing a contract after last season. I know we're in these situations, but that's a player I still think that's an untouchable.
yeah.
I think we got to get over this whole talk, and if that means he's got to go, he's got to go. But I think something's got to change, or else we're not going to see a difference.
I think it's like a dance of fire between
Yeah,
Dybala, um, Pirlo, Nedved, and Paratici right now, and it's like a
there's a
dangerous
lot of
dance that
talk.
they're doing. There's like a lot of stuff going on, and um, I don't know what the eventual outcome is going to be, but
Well, wait.
in the best case scenario, Pirlo and Dybala figure it out. Like Pirlo kind of gets him to play where he was playing under
Yeah,
Sarri and last year, and Dybala is in a happy place psychologically,
yeah.
um, and then things gonna shape up for the better. Um, I just don't know if I'm trying to think from the Pirlo's point of view right now. I don't know if he's thinking that hey, Dybala is a um, if he's like a critical player for him, or if he's somebody who he can get rid of. So I think when coaches think of players, they also think of like long-term records. And
Right.
with Dybala, it's been like a little bit topsy-turvy. Like he's had down years and up years. Um, and you could argue that he's a great player and he has but still has the potential to be world class, even though he's like 26, 27 or whatever at the moment. But let's leave that aside. But in order to be world class, you need to have the level of consistency where shit happens to everybody, but world class players like just deal with that shit better
Yeah.
because they are
But you know what,
mentally
Farrukh? I
stronger.
think the one thing I'll push back on that is I think we've seen so much of Messi and Ronaldo putting these years of, year after year after year. I mean, you look at Griezmann really well at Atletico Madrid. You didn't even hear about him for a couple years.
True.
Mbappe does really well, then chokes against Man U, chokes, I think almost, well, they lost again this year.
Right.
Lost, but then they go to a final, but then you don't really see much out of them in the final.
Right.
So I just think in general, I think these are players that are top tier, but they have bad runs. But again, I don't think that's the reason why kind of things are going wrong. I'm just thinking, you know, it's eh, it's really tough to be at that consistent level when you're comparing to someone who, are of those two statures, those two
Right.
goat statures, right? So
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Point well taken. And what is his level like? Who are the players at his level? That's like a whole separate discussion. Like kind
right.
of comparing him to Lautaro and kind of the second semi-elite
Yeah.
tier of players and how they've been doing and seeing if we can draw insights on if not Dybala, then who do we get? Who will be his
True.
replacement?
Well, that's the thing. It's not as easy, right? We talked about the Icardi rumors, but let's
Totally though, right? So that's kind of
yeah.
the hard part. Like how do you conceptualize it?
Yeah, it's true. It is true. 59th, Burna would blast a shot from long range off the post. And I was like, shit,
So
that would have
unlucky.
been
So
this
unlucky.
this guy can't catch a break.
Oh, he really can't.
But we'll see we'll see hopefully he can even get his value up. That's all I ask. I mean, I think I think if we can keep him at a fairly consistent level to get some money out of it, I think everybody's happy at the end of the day. But again, right after that great chance, Ferencvaros comes down again, easily the other way. So 61st minute wholesale change, almost if you want to call it, back in the old days. Morata comes on for Dybala. Chiesa comes on for Bernardeschi. Kulusevski comes on for McKennie. And it almost seems like we're playing a 4-2-4 at that point. Really heavy attacking. Morata threw to Ronaldo in the 68th, and he makes a little bit of a mistake. Should have been more critical or clinical at that moment. 75th, nice chance by Morata. Run off the post. What is it? Just useless. Subs making no difference. Yeah, I didn't think the subs had it in them this game. Kulusevski, I think maybe was a little bit better from a start of the game than the sub in this particular instant. But yeah, he wasn't particularly great. I think Morata was all right, and Chiesa was almost inexistent. 80th long range shots wide or on the post, crosses our story of the game. So we pretty much had to put a full bench. Ramsey and Rabiot come on for Artur and Bentancur, and all 5 subs needed to beat Ferencvaros. Like, really? Yeah. It was not a good game.
I kind of hate these 80+ minute subs because it's giving them no time to have an impact. Like, you're going to be nervous and you're going to be like, okay, I have to do something, but I don't have any time to do it. So I think we should make subs by 75th minute or before, just kind of give them at least 15. Like, take the risk that somebody's going to get injured or get a red card and you'll be fine.
Exactly. But 90+2, Cuadrado with the one cross of the game that finally connects with Morata, whose header, even that, you look at how it snuck through the goalkeeper as well, and you're just like, shit. I mean, that was I didn't watch the game live, so I knew what the score was. I kind of knew the mood. But I watched it after, and I'm like, ooh, that one was even like that. Right between the 5-hole there, like I'm surprised he didn't save that.
Right, exactly.
2-1, it doesn't matter in the end, but this team's nowhere near where we need to be. And like I said, we needed to put runs together. Yeah. And essentially, guys, that was the tail of the tape there, minute by minute. Let's get right into 3 up, 3 down. So who do you think kind of your 3 worst on the day, and who do you think were your 3 best? And I am going to put Dybala in here because I don't want to get hate for saying I kiss his ass too much. I think, it just wasn't good enough. He wasn't up to snuff. Yeah. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I think McKennie was pretty average.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that.
I mean, Dybala, I think, he wasn't terrible, but,
yeah, wasn't.
Expect more from him. And I'm trying to remember, did Tech mess up something in this game, or?
No, not in this game. That was the defense. That's why I'm going to put Dybala as one of the 3 down. I'm going to put Cuadrado because really the 20+ crosses and, the mistakes and, some of the stupid things he did don't outweigh that 1 assist. And then essentially Danilo in the defense are going to get that 3rd position because how do you fall on your ass and give the guy the ball? And, De Ligt pinches. He's been superb. How do you miss that head? How do you let that header get through? And then Cuadrado, how do you miss that coverage and let the guy just shoot past Tech? And Alexandro, how do you not, stop it? You look at the game against Benevento, like the amount of times where either Dybala had a shot blocked or we had our cross block going in. It was just like that in that situation. Why couldn't we have done that, right? So those are my kind of 3-ish.
Right. And then for the winners, I would say the 2 goal scorers.
Yeah, I agree.
Deserved it. And besides that, there were no really standouts. I mean, I thought Artur was kind of a little bit below par.
Yeah.
But Bentancur was all right. I think De Ligt has looked good in general since his comeback.
Yeah, I agree.
So I might throw him in there. But there were no real standouts.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're gonna pick your goal scorers. I think a third. I don't know. I kind of I thought Artur was okay, so maybe I'll throw him in. I think the mistake. I was like, you could throw him in again, same kind of thing. But I thought it was all generally a down game. So I mean,
Yeah.
whoever you guys want to argue to put that in that last spot is up to you. Let's get into the post match comments from Pirlo. Obviously, up first. Um, the players may change, but our style of football must remain the same. We did very well to control the game in the first half, especially. So we need a performance like this to boost the confidence and self belief of the team. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Sorry, guys. I don't think we're gonna be having post match comments. For some reason, those didn't stay in. But anyways, I think what comes out of this game, there's a lot more to do. And the next section usually is speaking of themes of making mistakes and computers not working. That's funny. But let's just get into that. Looking forward to the next game. Obviously, that was Benevento, so we've already seen it. Nothing really better. A team that really took advantage of their chances, was really pressing. But in general, where do we go from here, Farrukh? What do you think? What do you think of what's been happening so far?
Um, so I think we go to Barcelona and we need to really show an impressive performance there.
Yeah.
Not because it really matters that much. Like, I guess we'll get some extra money if we win,
Yeah. And
like you
first
were
place
at
potentially, right?
first place, and all the benefits that come with it. But just because we can hold our heads high,
Yep.
and you know, I'm I think we got kind of embarrassed in the first leg, and
True.
we need to go back there and kind of really
Flip the
bring
tables.
our A game. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge. And then looking at the calendar, I mean, there's obviously Dinamo, Torino, um, Genoa, Atalanta, Parma.
Yep.
Holy crap! There's it's a packed calendar.
Oh
Fiorentina.
yeah, I'm telling you, man. These next games, we got Atalanta in there, Fiorentina in there, Parma, Genoa. So it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely. I mean, we definitely have the talent.
Yeah,
But I think I agree with you 100%. You look at this season, we really haven't had any statement wins
right.
against big teams, right? We didn't get the chance against Napoli, even though it's considered a win. W's
Right.
a W. Lazio, we didn't look great. Roma, we didn't look great. So we've really not faced any. And then Barcelona, we didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's really tough to see. But
Yeah.
I hope for morale purposes, I think that would be huge for our confidence going forward if we could pull a win there.
Yeah, especially with Milan coming up early next year, we have to be in the right spot mentally.
Yep, exactly. So that's perfect. Again, these are gonna be the same questions as in podcast 61, which is the next one. So you know my answers. We're definitely gonna ask Farrukh for his. And it starts off with Mason Vecchia Senora blog at VESI blog. Best midfielders of the season so far. What are your thoughts, Farrukh?
For Juve,
Yes.
um, so I think Rabiot has generally been good. Like he's been a little up and down,
Okay.
but in general he's been okay. I think Bentancur has been a little under par compared to last year. McKennie is young. I don't expect a lot from him right now.
Fair enough.
He's kind of shown some pedigree in certain matches, but um, let's see who else. Ramsey has been missing in action, so won't be him. And let's see. I think Rabiot's the one that stands out, and then Kulusevski, like he plays more on the wing, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't really include him in that comparison. Artur has been I think he had one really good game.
Yeah.
And he's had a few average ones and some below average. But I think he's gonna grow into it over time. Like he's just settling in. I
Yeah.
think he's gonna be our best midfielder this season.
I agree. Which is surprising because I was kind of concerned of what we were getting and not knowing what he has. James Martino again, Jimmy this underscore Stallion. Thank you. I will see you on La Panquina on Saturday. If Dybala doesn't score, will his agent reduce their demands or go to 16 million?
Who knows, man? After 2020, who knows?
That's very true. With the January transfer market just around the corner, which one position needs to be reinforced the most? You can only have one. Abdul Rahman at AK21RD. Thank you for the question again.
I think given our recent injury concerns, I would say maybe the defense.
Okay.
I think the midfield I'm okay with. Like we have enough depth, but we don't have enough quality still. And
that could be okay, right?
That could be okay. Forward line really depends on what happens with Dybala. Like if he leaves, we'll have to obviously cover that. If he doesn't leave, then Ronaldo and Morata are probably going to be all right. And Dybala when he does play.
That's good. Joe Cappuccino fueling the fire. Is Dybala worth the 15 million per season he's asking for? I think you've answered this already, but quick. I don't think.
I would say maybe around 12.
I agree with that. By the way, I would actually go 11 and have like a 4 million like float. And it's a possibility to get up to that 50 million if he proves his worth and if he gets the stats. Jake Finchiguera, thank you again for this next one. On the recent podcast, it was said that there was plenty of midfielders that are doing what Locatelli is doing in terms of UCL experience, going to World Cup finals, whatever. Except out of all of the midfielders, like Locatelli, Registas, who would you rather have instead amongst those in the UCL? So maybe talking about Aouar, Pogba, Van de Beek, etc.
Personally, I would go for Van de Beek, and I would aggressively try to steal Frankie de Jong from Barcelona because they are in poor financial condition. So I would keep my eyes open on that one.
Hey, there you go. Well, Farrukh, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been nice seeing you again. We got to do this much sooner this next time. And the two-part king still reigns as the two-part king, but this one will definitely keep all in one. But guys, thank you for all the support. Keep watching Café La Juventinità. That's been awesome. It's been so much fun for me. Definitely have one of those tonight. We're definitely going to try and, I got to start getting the machine going and pumping these out. I got about like 3-4 videos now, and I got another podcast coming up after this that you guys are highly anticipating. So let's get her going. Thank you again, Farrukh, again. YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast. Subscribe, follow, retweets. I appreciate it so much. And as always, guys, fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.